Good morning, and welcome to my Monday messages. Very late this morning, almost an hour late. Apologies for that. Just life happens like that sometimes. So today, I am mulling over something that's come at me from several directions recently, and that is how we relate to rules in our life. And that can be generally, or it can be in very specific areas of our lives. Obviously, we have all kinds of sets of universal rules, if you like. We have very specifically, geographical rules. We also have, we get taught all kinds of rules in our professional trainings, and that relates to almost any field. There will always be some kind of set of rules that we're meant to adhere to, we're meant to work by, we're meant to live by even. And what has come up for me is when those rules become almost counterproductive, when we are allowing the rules to govern our sense of who we are, our sense of responsibility, our sense of humanity, our sense of freedom and of creativity, actually. When do they tip the balance and become restrictive and constraining? Now, I'm not saying throw rules out completely. I think they can be really, really useful guidelines, a kind of map, if you like, when we are learning something new. It's, even in life, when we're transitioning through the ages, learning what the map is and knowing that, feeling safe enough that there are certain steps that we can follow while we're feeling unsure. And then my perspective is that as long as we understand the basic principles behind those rules, those guidelines, that map, that we can then explore all the wealth of territory that lies beyond those rules. That actually that we can feel confident and in our own creativity and our own ability to be fully present in every situation, whether that's a work situation or whether that's a life situation, a relationship, a brush with authorities, whatever it is, that we are connected enough to our full selves, to our hearts, first and foremost, our humanity, and that we are not allowing ourselves to be slavishly, rigidly constrained by what were meant to be simple guidelines originally, and have now somehow become dogma, have become a religion even. And it's when we lose sight of that we become less than human, in my view. And that's worth reviewing on a regular basis. So perhaps thinking about where in your life are you a rigid observer of the rules? And where might that feel really not comfortable to think about stretching those rules, going beyond those rules, actually even reviewing them and thinking, are they actually still aligned for me? Do they still feel congruent for me, given what I know and what I've experienced and what I feel in my heart is true, is aligned, is authentic. And can we take the spirit of those rules and have faith in ourselves to actually go deeper, wider, higher, and be more expansive, more growthful. I've come across this recently in people's professions, where it can feel very scary to deviate from what was taught in original trainings. There's a lot of disempowering beliefs around, certainly in homeopathy, from hearing a teacher 20 years ago relay an experience that they had in one case, and that becoming, oh, that means I must never, ever give that remedy, or give that remedy in that situation, or, something like that. And that's when it becomes dogma. It becomes something that was laid down. We've all forgotten the reason why, and it just becomes a belief system. It becomes a belief system that nobody questions and that is not individual anymore, and actually has no evidence. It doesn't stand up for scrutiny. And what I'm inviting is for you to scrutinise any area of your life where you might be rigidly sticking to the rules, and that may be restricting you, may be confining you in some way. Equally, it may be that it's doing the opposite. It may be actually supporting you. You might feel actually sticking to the rules is what gives me a sense of freedom, of being able to know that because I've got the basic principles down, that I can then rise above those and be freer. That might vary from, different parts of your life might have different responses from you in that regard. I believe that all of us have a little rule breaker in us, a little rebel. And sometimes she doesn't get enough of an airing, she or he. And the rule breaker is also something that's worth exploring in us. When is it okay for us to break the rules, or at least question them, to actually be able to stretch them, to be able to expand them, to perhaps know, as I said, that I get the principle, I get the different steps, I understand that some rules, some guidelines, some part of those guidelines I kind of need to adhere to. Perhaps it's the sequence that something is done in, or the rationale for including all those elements. Perhaps it's that. And now I've been doing what I've been doing, whether that's just living, whether that's growing, from transitioning from one stage in your life to the next, whether that's a profession, whether that's some kind of education process, whether that's even as a parent. Often we stick to rules that someone else has given us when we are a first-time parent. We learn a hell of a lot from that. And then by the time the next child comes along, or even the third or fourth child, we're not doing it by the rules at all. We know that we've chucked the rule book out and we do what works, and we do what comes from our hearts and what feels right, and most importantly, what is applicable to every unique child and every unique situation. Or does it? Maybe for you that you do need to hang on to those rules and you will apply them no matter what. So I'm just asking you this week to actually have a little root around and look at your relationship with rules. One way of conducting that kind of audit is to ask yourself, okay, those areas where I am definitely sticking to the rules, am I doing that from a place of fear, or am I doing it from a place of experience and wisdom and active choice? So do I know in my heart that these rules work for me? And, that's it. They're important. They get results, all of those things. Or does it feel really scary to even think about deviating from those rules? And you can tell that very quickly by noticing when you think about, okay, I'm going to throw those rules out of the window and I'm going to have every confidence in myself and my ability to navigate this situation or this relationship without slavishly adhering to those rules. If that you start to feel something in your physical body, that'll give you a good indication as to whether you are acting from a place of fear or not. And just be wary that excitement can often feel very similar to fear. So if it feels a little bit, I'm not sure about it, but it is, it's exciting. It could introduce a whole world of possibility. Then that will be excitement. If it's like, sweaty palms and racing heart and usually some kind of sensation in your lower belly, then that usually is a place of fear. So maybe asking yourselves, okay, when did I decide to take those rules on? Who introduced them to me, maybe? Who or what? And are they still relevant now? Or could I introduce the possibility that they might be keeping me in a place that I don't want to be in, or that isn't really serving me in the long term? And as ever, if you do detect that kind of state that is run by something like fear, then exploring that and perhaps actually having somebody to do that with you and to hold space for you while you do that is what I offer. So do get in touch if you would like some support or guidance during that process, or just exploring other areas in your life where rules are either keeping you tethered, keeping you, feeling safe and maybe even a little bit stuck, preventing you from growing, from expanding, from feeling confident and free and creative and all those lovely things, then let's work together. And if you do a review and think, yeah, I'm good with all the rules that are in my life and I'm feeling totally connected with who I am, able to be free and to fly, basically, then I commend you. Do share. Because that would be lovely to hear. So just pop a comment in if you get time. Just let me know whether you are a rule breaker or whether you are a rule observer, or maybe a bit of both. That'll be interesting to hear. Food for thought for the week, and thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. Bye.